Ladies, gentlemen, MBs, we are back. We are ready to go, and we are ready to talk about turtles. Now, last time that you saw me, I believe, at least magic-wise, I was talking about Lorwyn Eclipsed. I went 1 and 2 in that pre-release. Man, that was a rough one for me, but hey, it happens sometimes. Sometimes luck and cards aren't in your favor. But I'm back. I'm ready to go with another pre-release video. This time, because I've been sick for, I don't know, it feels like 3 weeks now, I'm going to try and cut this one down way smaller than we had it before, and I'm going to give you my roughly top 6 best cards in each color that we'll go through and we'll talk about on cards that I think are just legit in their respective colors. And we'll also talk about, you know, the potential for some decks that might pop up within the set itself when you're at the pre-release and you're ready to go. So without any further ado, let's dive into this bad boy and let's start talking about turtles, because I like turtles. Now, first off, reminder, I want to let you know, going to the pre-release, get some snacks, get some drinks, just stuff to hold you over during the whole time, because each round can take about an hour. Some places do 3 to 5 rounds. Then there's also an hour for deck building. You could be there for a minute, and you don't want to get hungry and you don't want to get dehydrated. So bring some of that stuff. In addition to that, gameplay wise, make sure you bring dice to, you know, keep track of the amount of tokens that you have, or +1/+1 counters that you'll see is very, very relevant to this set. Other things that you can do, bring sleeves so you're not freaking raw dogging those brand new cards. Yeah, most of them after basically a week after pre-release are going to cost 10 cents, but the ones that don't, you're really not going to want to scuff up. Plus, it's just a nicer shuffle, right? So bring some sleeves to throw those cards into. And then on top of that, there's not a ton of tokens that really pop up in this set. You have food tokens, we have mutagen tokens, but if for some reason you don't really get those, bring some extra tokens, some blank tokens that you can draw on and kind of just make the token that you might not have gotten. So that's it for reminders. Now, let's talk about tips. What to remember about a pre-release. We've talked about this a million times. You have to at least make your deck 40 cards. I usually go about 1 to 3 over, just because usually there's some cards that really get my deck where it needs to be. 40 cards is usually the staple of where most people are going to play. They aren't going to go more. You can't go less because it's illegal. And then about 17-ish lands. I'm usually running about 16 because I find I'm pulling way too many lands out of my deck if I run 17, which is crazy that one does it. Then also in pre-release, removal is king. And also, let's say evasion is king too. So flying, unblockable, those type of things. I usually try to put in about 6 pieces of removal into my deck. And I need to make sure that I have enough that I can deal with problems as they arise. And then finally, one of the big things, I've kind of beaten around the bush with the last couple pre-releases, but find a theme to your deck. If you can really find a theme that's going to create some sort of synergy out of your pool, it's going to make the deck even that much better. Rather than 1 or 2 cards that might work together and seem really good, if you can build a deck that, I don't know, maybe 10 cards or more really work together and kind of do something really cool that plays off of one another, the deck is going to be way better and you're going to have way more fun actually trying to play that deck. In Turtles, what you're going to notice, there's some discard theme, there's some +1/+1 counters themes, there is a little bit of tribal stuff in there that I don't think I really hit on. Then finally, let's talk about some tricks, or turtle techs, I'm going to call them, for this set. First off, well, what these really are is going to be your things that are kind of your mechanics within the set. First off, let's talk about Sneak. Sneak is kind of like a fixed ninjutsu, if you're familiar with that. If you're not familiar with ninjutsu, basically what it is for Sneak, there is an alternative casting cost that you can use. So the card might cost 4 and Sneak might cost 3. And after blockers are declared, you can cast Sneak on a unblocked creature that is attacking, and put that card that has sneak on it right onto the battlefield. And the card that was unblocked, you put that card right back into your hand. So it's a way to get additional triggers off of a really good ETB effect, but it's also a way to get some really good cards onto the battlefield for cheaper than just their straight cost. Now in this set we also have instances that have the sneak cost on it, which is new and interesting. Those are technique cards that I think really are going to kind of be a little strong in this set. That's what sneak is. Next up, Alliance. Alliance is very simple. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, when a creature enters the battlefield under your control, something happens. You gain 1 life, you deal 1 damage to any target, you draw a card, something like that. That's all Alliance is. When a creature enters your battlefield, something happens. Cool. Next up, I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but mutagen tokens. So there's a bunch of cards that are going to create these mutagen tokens. And basically a mutagen token just is an artifact token card that has on it, you pay 1, you tap it, you sacrifice the token, and then you put +1/+1 counter on target creature, and you can only activate it as a sorcery. Now, as I said when we were talking about trying to pick a theme out of your pre-release deck, I said +1/+1 counters seems like they might be a pretty strong theme in here, especially for green and white. Mutagen token could be really good. Now, do I think it's something that you can completely play around? There is a little artifact synergy too that I forgot to mention when we talked about picking a theme. So there might be a place for that where you can kind of do artifacts and +1/+1 counters. It just depends on what type of deck that you got going on and what's in your pool. It might be worth playing into mutagens. It might just be something that, if it happens, cool enough. Then next up, our second to last mechanic is Disappear. Now, what's Disappear? It's kind of the opposite of Alliance, right? And it's kind of what it says. When a permanent leaves the battlefield, or if a permanent left the battlefield on your turn, something happens, right? Opponent loses 1 life, maybe. So that could be your mutagen token, which it could work really well there. It could be a creature dying. It could be a land being bounced, or I think there's 1 or 2 cards that destroys lands in the set. Any of that is going to trigger Disappear, and like I said, the card will say exactly what to do. And finally, we have classes. So classes are coming back. They're not new, but they haven't been around for a minute or 2. I think the last might have been Bloomborough. Classes are coming back, and there are 3 levels on the classes. So when you cast it, you instantly get whatever level 1 is. Then you can pay an additional cost later on, either that turn, next turn, at some point, to move it up to level 2. Now you don't still get level 1, but you get what level 2 offers on that class. And we'll dive into those and we'll look at that in a minute or 2. That's your turtle text for the set. Next up, let's dive into cards. And the first cards that we're going to hit up is red. So we have Zog, Triceraton Castaway. This is a crazy cool card because look at it. It is a common, first off. It's 4 and a red, reach, trample. When it enters, target creature can't be blocked this turn, and you can also mountain cycle it for 2. And then you have a 5/4 at the very least, right? So Zog, really strong, I think. 5 cost, 5/4, reach, trample, and a creature can't block this turn. Seems kind of insane. Definitely a card that if you get in your set and you're going red, look at it for sure. Now, Wingnut, bat on the Belfry. 1 and a red. This has Alliance, right? Whenever another creature you control enters, cool. Wingnut gains your choice of Flying, Menace, or Haste until end of turn. So if you have 3 creatures enter the battlefield, you can get all 3 of them. That's so much evasion, so much craziness. You just swinging in. And then in addition to that, whenever he attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. I think at a 2-drop, at uncommon slot, this is a sweet card. You're going to be casting creatures. Hopefully you're casting 1 a turn, maybe 2. Wingnut's going to do the job for you, and you're going to get that payoff for sure. Then Raphael, the Night Watcher. This is going to be a mythic. It's a 2 red. Has that sneak, 1 in a red. And remember, at the end of the declare blockers phase, you can pay the sneak cost to bring him in and bounce an attacker that was unblocked after the blockers phase back to your hand, right? And then Raphael gets to attack. But that's kind of cool. But in addition to that, attacking creatures you control have double strike. So that's a sweet way to get a ton of damage through, or have somebody basically block thinking that they got you. They put you in a corner. Now you're coming through with double strike. Now you're doing even more damage, and you might clear their board too, right? So Raphael, sweet card. Really interested to play it. Hope I get it in my pool. Seems awesome. Now Raphael's technique. This is going to be a little expensive. It's a 4 red, but it has sneak 2 in a red, and this is an instant. So this is what I was talking about. We don't just have ninjutsu on creatures. We also have it on instants. And each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. So I think that's an interesting way to kind of entice your opponent to get rid of their hand. But also I find myself right around, I don't know, turn 7, turn 8, kind of getting low on cards, and I really want to kind of refresh my hand somehow. This is going to be a perfect way to do it, and for a 3 cost, if you're lucky enough to do that. And at that point, you should have enough mana. You could throw this in and then also get another payoff in addition to that. It's going to be a pretty neat card if you can get somebody that is unblocked right through. Then our second to last red card, Raphael Ninja Destroyer, 2 red. Raphael must be blocked if able. And then when he's dealt damage, add that much red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose mana or this mana between steps and phases ending. So you could have this happen, I don't know, you could deal damage to it in your main phase, and you could use that mana all the way up through basically your end phase. I don't know exactly where he kind of fits in, but I think it's a really strong card of 4-drop 4/4 that has to be blocked. I think that's going to be a big problem for you, because like even in like other sets, like a 4/4 comes down and it's like, oh crap, now I got to deal with this, right? It's going to be something that it either has to be dealt with, or even if it isn't dealt with and it ends up getting blocked somehow, you're getting a payoff of mana out of it. And our last red card, you guessed it, another Raphael card. Raphael Most Attitude. It is 3 in a red. It's going to be an uncommon, has Menace, and then Alliance. So when a creature enters, you may exile the top card of your library. Cool. When he attacks, you may play a card exiled with Raphael. That seems good. It's just expanding out your hand, right? Unfortunately, something that, you know, could happen is if Raphael gets removed, those cards get exiled and they're just gone. But I think the payoff is way higher than this. So Raphael, another great card to look into. Next up, we have blue cards. So we're looking at Retro Mutation, 2 in a blue. It has Flash, enchant creature. An enchanted creature is a turtle with base power and toughness of 0/1. It can't attack and loses all abilities. I think this is going to be a sweet shutoff card. It's at common, so you have a really good chance of actually getting it in your pool. If you end up going blue, I think this is going to be a good one, right? You have a big guy that you just can't friggin' deal with. You pull this, you flash it in, it's no problem anymore. Then Donatello, Way with Machines, 2 in a blue, flying. So Gives us a little bit of evasion just baked directly into the card. And whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Donatello. So this is going to fit right into an artifact +1/+1 style deck, right? It's giving us what is it? What was it? Titus Blitzball Star, right? Very similar feel to that, but just directly in blue. This could be a beater. Turtles in Time. So a big cost 5 blue. Return all creatures to their owner's hands. Cool. Each player may shuffle their hand and graveyard into their library. Then each player who does draws 7 cards, and you exile Turtles in Time. This is going to be a good one because this is kind of like a board reset as far as creatures. And then you can shuffle your graveyard back into your library if you want. In addition to your hand, you can't choose one. My understanding of this card. So if you shuffle your hand in, you got to shuffle your graveyard, or vice versa, right? So I think this is, you know, if you feel like you're down on it and you need to get some cards back in to your hand, or you need to take care of your opponent's board, slow them down someplace, or just bring stuff back from the graveyard, Turtles in Time is going to be a good one for you. Ideally not wanting to play it in pre-release, but more times than not, I feel like I would have wished that I had this if I was down on a turn. Then Krang Mastermind, 6 blue, has affinity for artifacts. And when Krang enters, if you have fewer than 4 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. So good way to populate that hand again. And then Krang gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Perfect for that artifact deck. Kitsune, Dragon's Daughter, 4 blue. I know it seems like it's expensive and there's not a cut cost on this, but it's a 6/6, so, you know, 6 for 6/6, cool. Vigilance, sweet. Whenever Kitsune enters or deals combat damage to a player, you may exchange control of 2 other target creatures controlled by different players. So that seems really nice. You could have a low end creature on your side of the field and exchange it for something sweet on your opponent's side. Do I think that if you pull this, you're diving right into blue? Not necessarily, but I think if you're teetering on blue and then you get this might be the thing that kind of pushes you over. Lots of situations where this could really help out, right? Especially when you're down, but if you're ahead and they seem like they're stabilizing, this will end that stabilization. Our last blue card, Kitsune's Technique, 4 blue. It's an instant with sneak, 1 into blue, and target opponent mills half their library rounded up. Obviously a really good card earlier in the game, but if you're milling a huge chunk of your opponent's library, it's never a bad time to play, right? That's almost always going to benefit you, unless you get a little unlucky and, you know, they discard a billion lands and hit all the heat that they can cast, right? So that is blue for us. That's our 6 blue cards that I think are going to be really sweet and do a lot of work for you in the pre-release. Next up, we have white. So our first card, Leonardo Big Brother, 2 and a white, a sneak for 1 white, and then Leonardo gets +1/+0 for each other creature you control. If you're running white, this is a common, by the way, let me point that out. If you're running white, you're probably running a bunch of creatures, right? Or creature generators. Leonardo's not going to be a 1/3, okay? So I just think Leonardo's just a good include in white deck. All right, next up, Leonardo, leader in blue for a white. Sweet card for 1 white. But there is a sneak cost of 3 white. If it's later in the game, this will do it for you. Leonardo, when he enters, if his sneak cost was paid, creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Sweet for later in the game, exactly what you want. And then for 1 and a white, Leonardo gains first strike until end of turn. I think that's going to be super good for a 1-drop that's a 2/1, right? Just the ability to pay that additional 2 and get a first strike in seems great. Next up, Turtles Forever, 3 and a white. Search your library and or outside the game, which let's talk about what outside the game means real quick. Outside the game is going to be your sideboard, so any other cards in your pool that you pulled. Don't think it's like, I brought my commander deck, now I can play a sweet commander card. No, it's just what you pulled out of your pre-release kit, okay? So if you have a card that you would really like to splash for, but it just isn't worth it, you can play that card if you cast Turtles Forever, right? So let's restart it. Search your library and or outside the game for exactly 4 legendary creature cards you own with different names. Then reveal those cards. An opponent chooses 2 of them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and shuffle the rest into your library. Love it. Seems really sweet. If you have a way to make one of any color mana, right? This is a great way to get, like I said, those cards that you really wanted, but you just didn't see a way to make it work into your deck, or just some cards that didn't quite fit but could be really sweet. Yeah, you get them and they just come like instantly to you. It's not like they get like half of them get exiled or half of them go to your graveyard. No, they're all accessible in some way. Yes, they go into your library, but still you have a chance to pull those better than if they sit in your graveyard. So I'm really high on the Turtles Forever. Now, Leonardo Cutting Edge, 1 and a white, has a sneak cost of 1. The reason why I put this guy in here isn't because it's a rare, but because it has lifelink, and whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Leonardo. Seems super good, right? Now, keep in mind that damage triggers, right? Then lifelink triggers, then putting the +1/+1 counter on it triggers. It's not something that happens all at once. So it's not like, oh, our two 1/1s fought each other, but my Leonardo gets a +1/+1 on top of it, so technically I kill yours, right? That's not how it works. But lifelink proves to be really, really strong if you can get this guy kind of big and chunky in pre-release. So definitely a good card to run if you get it. And then our first class enchantment, right? Our leader's talent. So 1 and a white, whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. That's incredible. And then you can level it up for 2 and a white. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had a counter on it, you gain 2 life. If you need life and there's a board wipe coming, yeah, that seems super good. And then level 3, 3 and a white. Whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If you can get right there, that's so good. You're casting just any spell, instant, sorcery, artifact, creature, enchantment, doesn't matter. Any of it. You get a +1/+1 counter on each of your creatures each time you do it. Now, our last white card is Agent Bishop. Now, this card is going to be very similar to that talent that we just talked about. It is 2 and a white, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. That yeah, that seems real good. Now, I want to point out that it says up to 2 target creatures, not creatures you control. So in the rare case, there is a card that says, I think if the power is over 4, it might be mana value. but I think if the power is over 4, it destroys it, right? A little removal card in the set. We have those in every single set. There is the thought that you could power up their creature just to kill it. Probably not going to do that, but you're going to use it on your creatures. Sweet card. Love this card. Saw it get some play in the PPR. This will do a lot of work for you if you can get it out. 100%. Now we're diving into black. Our first card is Squirrel Anoids for 1 black, Death Touch, 1/1. It's a common. What more do you want? You got a 1/1 1-drop Death Toucher. Sweet. That's all black ever wants. Then Stomped by the Foot, 1 and a black. It's an instant. I believe this is the only card in the set that has a kicker cost. The kicker cost is sacrifice an artifact or a creature. And we saw something like this in Final Fantasy. I think it was like Vane's Sacrifice or something like that. But target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and if this spell was kicked, that creature gets -5/-5 instead. I think that if you're running this, the sacrifice cost isn't too big to really deal with, so you're probably going to get that -5/-5. And if for some reason the -2/-2 is perfect for you, then even better, you get to keep an artifact or a creature. So definitely sweet removal at common. Watch out for it. Now, Pain 101 for 1 and a black. Until end of turn, target creature gains Death Touch, and when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. I think the last set or two we've had a card like this, and every time I've played it or anytime I've seen somebody else play it, it's just a nightmare, because you finally get that card removed that you've been trying to get removed, and poof, it's back again. Great. So yeah, I think this is a underrated style of card that gets overlooked quite often, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Don't forget about it. Now we have Shredder Unrelenting for 4 and a black. It has Sneak for 3 and a black. We have Death Touch, and then whenever Shredder enters or attacks, another target creature you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. And it's a 6/4. Seems really good. It has Death Touch itself. Something else is going to gain Death Touch, and it has Death Touch with 4 toughness, so they have to throw something mildly big or a handful of creatures at it. It's almost like a mini board wipe, really, to kind of help you stabilize, or otherwise you're just running through things and just killing the crap out of them. So like the card, think it's really good. If I'm being honest, it's kind of weird that it has Death Touch with 6 power, but I guess that makes it so it can kill anything in the set. Possibly little flavor text type of thing, but yeah. Next black card. The Cloning of Shredder for 4 black. So our first step on this saga: exile target creature card from your graveyard, create a token copy, except it isn't legendary and is a mutant in addition to other types. Cool. And then 2 and 3 are create a token copy of a card exiled with this saga, except it isn't legendary and it's a mutant in addition to its other types. So this will probably be pretty interesting in like Commander, where you can just keep exiling target creature cards and then you just have your choice of anything that you can create. But even where it's at, you're getting 3 copies of a singular card. Seems super good, and they're not legendary, so you can get like Commander level power card. And yeah, I think especially in pre-release, this is going to be a house. They're going to have to remove it, or they're going to have to deal with the things that it's copying. Either way, it's going to be a pain. And our last black card is Madam Null, Power Broker, 2 in a black, Death Touch. Whenever another creature you control enters, you may pay life equal to its power. If you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. It's a 1/3. I think this is a very black thing to do, right? You pay a bunch of life and you get a sweet payoff, right? Life is just a resource, as a lot of people say, including myself in Magic. So the only one that matters is the last one, because once you lose the last one, that's when you typically lose, right? Unless you have, like, you know, Platinum Angel or something like that. But that's not in the set. So sweet card, sweet way to get a decent amount of power on it. If you have lifelink or some sort of life gain, I think this card goes insane. It's gonna be super good. Now let's dive into green. First up, we have Michelangelo Mutant BFF, 2 green, and each creature you control with a counter on it can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Super good. I'm staring at you, white-green deck that I alluded to before. Whenever Michelangelo enters or attacks, create a mutagen token. Okay, so now you're creating the +1/+1 counters that you can put on creatures that then can only be blocked by 1 creature. Woof. That's wild. And it's a 4/4 as it comes in. Just super good card. Definitely look out for it. It gives you slight evasion. Super neat. Michelangelo Game Changer, 2 in a green. I think this is our first card that we're talking about that has disappear on it. And at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Michelangelo. So this guy is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as permanents leave the battlefield. So like I said, that could be lands, that could be the tokens, really anything. If it's leaving the battlefield, Michelangelo's getting bigger here. Now Mona Lisa Science Geek, 2 in a green, reach, and add X mana of any 1 color where X is Mona Lisa's power. So at face, I think this card is very mid, and you would actually like the transdimensional bovine better. That is like a 2 in a green 0/4 with flying that taps for 2 mana of any color. I'm not saying don't play that card. That card's super good too. But if you're playing this with a lot of the cards that we've been seeing pop up, you're probably getting its power bigger. So it's going to keep getting more and more and more mana for you. And yeah, it's gonna be another thing on the board that they have to deal with. And it's at uncommon, so it's not like it's unattainable, right? That's why I threw this card in compared to some of the other cards. Next up, Michelangelo Weirdness 211, 1 in a green. When Michelangelo enters, create a mutagen token. Once again, we're doing counter things, and if 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that many +1/+1/+1 counters are put on it instead. This ability is sweet. It keeps popping up on a ton of creatures, especially in sets that really care about +1/+1 counters. It's going to be a banger, right? I think as a 2-drop, yes, I get it. It's a 1/1, but technically it's like a 3-drop 2/2 if you use the mutagen token, and you can use it right away. Well, technically 4-drop, right? Because the additional +1/+1 counter, right? Just seems like a decent card, right? It's going to be a house. It comes in, it creates a 3-drop 4/4 just right off the get-go, and increases all the +1/+1 counters that you put on everything else. Also, Mona Lisa thinks it's real sweet. Next up, believe it or not, another Michelangelo card, right? Michelangelo Improviser, 3 and a green, sneak of 2 green. And when he deals damage to a player, you may put a creature card and or land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Really neat, because putting a big powerful creature card on turn 4 could be incredible, and could just win the game from there. But also, if you're trying to get ahead on your land base, just dealing damage in general will get more lands out of your hand. I think it just runs away with it. It's just a super good card. And now our last green card, Michelangelo's Technique. He went 5 for 6 here. So 4 and a green, sneak of 3 and a green. Look at the top 8 cards of your library. Put up to 2 creatures with total mana value 6 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. To me, this just says you pay 4, you get a 6 cost. That's it. I mean, yes, it's the top 8 cards, but when you're looking at a 40 card deck, by the time you're on turn 4, you were 7 cards at the start. If you take your original hand plus another 4, 11. So you're at 29 cards left in your deck anyways. So seems like the odds are pretty good for you. Otherwise, yeah, you get 2 creatures of some combination of up to 6 for their mana value. So I think it's a sweet card. I think it's going to be really good. Now we're going to slow it down a little bit, and we're going to dive into lands. Let's take a look at the lands. So, not necessarily this specific land, but here is the cycle of lands that we are getting in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the life gain lands, right? Enters tapped. When it enters, you gain a life. They tap for 2 colors. There's 5 of them in this set. Fairly good if you get them and you're playing those colors. Throw them in. Maybe even if you're not playing those colors, you want the life gain, sure, throw it in also. And our last land that I wanted to really talk about is Escape Tunnel. This is, I mean, just better than Evolving Wilds and all those cards, right? You sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, sweet. And then also, you could sacrifice it and target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. Also sweet. We care about those things when we're doing stuff like sneak, right? Insane card with the sneak mechanic. If you get it in your pre-release kit, I'm gonna say you should probably run it. Maybe don't count it. Only have it take up 1 land slot, and then it's going to have to start being an additional card, right? That's probably where I would look at. That is if you're running a decent amount of sneak also. So now we're gonna jump into colorless cards. What does colorless have for us? So Omni Cheese Pizza. It's a 2-drop. When it enters, draw a card. You can pay 1, tap, sack. You gain 1 mana of any color. Cool. Or 2, tap, sack, and you gain 3 life. I'm usually not too high and mighty on those 2 abilities there. I think they're fair payoffs if need be. Worst case, it sits on the battlefield and it helps your artifact synergy, but it coming in and giving you card advantage on that draw seems kind of sweet, so we run it. Next up, Chrome Dome for 2. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+0, and then you can pay 5 and create a token that's a copy of another target artifact you control. That token gains haste, and it's sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step. That is an ability that you can use on your opponent's turn if you need it, but it also comes in with an additional +1 in its power, because, you know, artifact creature, right? Well, I guess you're copying another target artifact creature, so power is kind of negligible. It's the same there, but I think just that second ability, especially late in the game, is going to feel really good to trigger, especially at the right times. Then we have Weathermaker for 3, and it has landfall, where if a land enters under your control, put a charge counter on it, and then at the very base it taps for 1 mana of any color. The second ability, you can remove 2 charge counters, and then it taps for a soul ring, 2 colorless, or you can remove 3 charge counters and it deals 3 damage to any target, so opponent included. Sweet. Then Turtle Van, because why not? It's a 3-drop with a crew 1, and whenever this vehicle attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that crewed it this turn. Then if that creature is a mutant, ninja, or turtle, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. I think this one really goes into that green-white deck, and you also really want to make sure that you're attacking with the vehicle, otherwise you're not getting any of those. So crewing this defensively, okay. Crewing it offensively, hell yeah, I'm on board. Now we have Krang Utram Warlord. Let's give it a go. It is a 9-drop, flying, trample, indestructible, haste. Other artifact creatures you control have flying, trample, indestructible, and haste, and it's a 9/9. You get it? Just play it. Just freaking play it. Because even if you're down, once you get that 9th drop, which isn't too far out of the realm of possibility, you're playing this card, and this card is just going to be a house for you, right? So play it. And finally, in Colorless Ooze, or the Ooze, it's a 2-drop. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it leaves the battlefield, create a mutagen token for each +1/+1 counter on it. And then you can also tap and exile target card from a graveyard and create a mutagen token. So this is a good way to kind of police your opponent's graveyard, first off. And then in addition to that, you can kind of replicate all of your +1/+1 counters in the form of mutagen tokens, which you need to pay 1 in order to get the +1/+1 counter back, but like typically it's not super bad to do that. I don't know, it just feels like a good card. It feels like, especially if you're doing counters, it's going to be a house for you. Now we're going to look at hybrid, and then we have multicolor cards, and then we're out of here. So hybrid cards, we have Ice Cream Kitty for 1 and hybrid black rain. 2, you can pay 2, sacrifice another creature or token, draw a card, and you activate this at sorcery only. Seems good. And then 2, tap, sacrifice this creature, you gain 3 life. I think if you have the ability to do kind of a little bit of a sack thing here, drawing a card is going to be so freaking beneficial. It's going to be so good. So good. But if need be, the cat also gains you life. And you know, it's a 1/3. That's nothing to necessarily ignore for 2 mana, right? So definitely something to look at and pile into your deck if need be. Next one is Nobody for 1 and 2 hybrid of blue red. When this creature enters, return up to 1 target creature or target artifact you control to its owner's hand. Scry 1. So a good little way to get additional triggers off of artifacts that you have. And at the very least, you scry 1, which is always helpful, because knowing what's coming up isn't good and you need to get it out of the top of your deck. is going to be sweet. I like this card. Then EPF Point Squad. Yes, they are just standing there pointing at people, right? For 1/2 hybrid of red white alliance. So whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger the more you cast creatures. These just always seem to do fairly well in pre-release because you're probably casting a lot of creatures, and if nothing else, it is a target for removal, which is not bad either. Next up, Mikey and Leo Chaos in Order. It is 2 hybrid of green white, and whenever you put a counter on a creature you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Once again, my most hated words in all of Magic is when this triggers, it only happens once each turn. I understand it would be incredible if it did it more than once a turn, but in the decks that you're going to be playing this, you're going to get it every single turn, I promise. Especially a deck with like the ooze in it. Ooh, so good. And then Don and Leo Problem Solvers, 3 and then 2 hybrid of white blue. It's a 4/6, so big boy right there. And then Vigilance, and at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact you control and up to 1 target creature you control. Then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. Good card. Definitely like a Conjurer's Closet-ish, but a little better, but also not any permanent, so a little worse. It's cool. It does 2 things. Like, just enjoy the nice things that we have in the world, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's just a sweet card. Dive into it. And then finally, for our last hybrid card, oh, it's a goodie. And I've seen it work. Oof. Krang and Shredder, 4 and 2 hybrid of blue-black. And whenever Krang and Shredder enter or attack, each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. Cool. Now we have a disappear ability. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, you may cast a card exiled with Krang and Shredder without paying its mana cost. And it's a 6/7. I don't care what you got in your pool. You're running this card, right? If you got all red and white and then this card, you're now doing 4 colors. For sure. So, Krang and Shredder, sweet card. Now our last 6 cards of Turtle Time is the multicolor cards. First up, Tainted Treats, 1 black, green. It's an instant, destroy target artifact or creature. If its mana value was 4 or less, create a food token. There are so many cards throughout the course of Magic the Gathering that are basically this casting cost that's destroy target creature, and we're getting more than that. Card's so good, it's sweet. Then Go Ninja Go, red and a white. You can choose one or both. Exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Or Go Ninja Go deals damage equal to the greatest power among creatures you control to target creature and opponent controls. Those are sweet abilities. Those are so good. Like, you're going to cast both of them every time, and it's at uncommon, so it's not like super unlikely that you might see it. Lessons from Life, 2 green, blue. Draw 3 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Insane. I understand that my whole theory, or the whole Magic theory of drawing a card should cost 2 is kind of out the window. It's getting closer to like 1.5 now. But even still, like drawing 3 cards, that's saving us half a mana, and we get to put a land card from our hand onto the battlefield, so we get land advantage, ramp. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's sweet. That's super neat. Now we have Karai, Future of the Foot, 1 white black, and it has the ability of sneak 2 white and a black. Whenever Karai deals damage to a player, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If her sneak cost was paid this turn, instead return that card to the battlefield, and it's a 3/3. Yeah, that's going to be insane. That's going to be a late hitter where, you know, you try and sneak something through, or I don't know, you have a flyer or unblockable or something stupid like that. You're going to put her in. You're going to get something sweet back from your graveyard that's a big hitter that got milled or discarded, or I don't know, killed even off the battlefield. It's such a good card. Such a good card. Dark, Leo, and Shredder is our second to last card, and white, black, with a sneak cost of white and black. Attacking ninjas you control have Death Touch. While they're attacking, they have Death Touch. Yes, insane card. Whenever Dark Leo and Shredder deal combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 black ninja token. Then, if you control 5 or more ninjas, that player loses half their life rounded up. And it's a 1/3. Wild. We're playing Ninja Tribal all day then. Such a good card. Yeah, if you can get it to work, it's going to do so much work for you. You will never be disappointed. And finally, our last card, North Wind Avatar 2, blue, red. Little tough, but flying. And when this creature enters, if you cast it, you may put a card you own from outside the game into your hand. And it's a 5/5. Keep in mind, like I said, that's cards from your pool, not cards that you brought to play, right? Yeah, cards seem super sweet. And it's kind of a house too. 5 cost 5/5 flyer. Insane. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, and MBs, thank you for sticking around, listening to my analysis of 6 cards in every single color. I don't necessarily know if it really, I mean, it did cut time, but I don't know if it made it as short as I wanted or gave me more time to talk about specific individual cards. If you are going to a Turtles pre-release, let me know how that goes for you. Let me know if anything that you heard here even helped. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going. I'm looking forward to playing. I think Turtles is growing on me. I was very low on it if you saw my estimations for the sets of 2026, but I think it's growing. We'll see where it ends at the end of the year. Yeah, but until next time, y'all, you know what it is. Let's get that W, and be kind, and peace, y'all. See ya.